Hey guys, I am Lana. This is from Corporate to Crystals. We're back for video number 7 in the series, Things I Wish Someone Would Have Told Me About the Twin Flame Journey. So today's video is going to be about like food, diet, alcohol, that whole thing. And then I'll kind of get into pre-awakening, where I was at and where I'm at now, and then the evolution that I believe our planet is taking. So yeah, that's where we are at. So just to start, I just want to throw it out there. If you have not gotten to on your journey, your spiritual path in general, or just in life in general, if you haven't been paying attention to your diet as part of your path, you're going to want to do that. I would encourage you to do that. If you've been resisting it, here's your friendly reminder to nudge you in the right direction. I'm not your mom. I don't really care what you do, but at the same time, I know that the impacts that I have felt from making this shift, so I want to share it with you guys so you can help yourself feel better as well. The long and short of it is that if you are doing all this energy work and emotional work to raise your vibration, but you're eating crappy food that is low vibrational, you're literally pulling your vibration down every time you do that. If you're doing all this energy work and high vibrational work, and then you drink a bunch of alcohol, it pulls your vibration down. So I found myself on my journey constantly like teetering between those two things. And so I feel like this video is really important. I know for me, where I was at before my awakening is I was a pretty healthy eater. I'd say like 75% of the time. I worked out really consistently in the gym, so I kind of rewarded myself with like cheat meals or treat meals. I was a pretty big foodie. I know one of you did put a comment about that too. I totally relate. Like, I was a pretty big foodie. I love exploring new restaurants and trying new food, so that's kind of what me and my friends did. I was always the person who had like a couple drinks, 2 drinks, but like I never really got like too many drinks past that. I always knew my limit for the most part. So yeah, like I don't have an addictive personality, so I wasn't like, alcohol wasn't a problem for me necessarily. And I know that in itself is a privilege. But because it wasn't a problem, I was able to really see the impact one drink makes on my system because I'm so sensitive. And I also think the reason why I only had like a couple drinks back in the day is because I was so sensitive. Where other people who are less sensitive, they can just keep drinking and it doesn't impact them the same way. So that's my 2 cents on that, where I came from. And then like as my awakening started, basically what I started noticing is I needed to, every time that I ate kind of poorly or treat meals or crappy food, I would feel it so much more intensely. Like, it would be so much more sensitive. Prior to my awakening, I might have like a carb coma or just feel really lethargic because I ate a heavier meal or a meal that was like crappier. Well, after my awakening, rather than it just being kind of like a carb coma, it then started like making my stomach upset or crampy, or just like I would get really dehydrated, I would get a headache, all sorts of like unique little sensitivities that just weren't the same before my awakening. Once my nervous system was healed, or like settled rather, I could feel everything so much more intensely. And so I just naturally started making decisions like, it's not worth it. Like, that pizza is not worth, how you're going to feel tomorrow. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I still totally do it. Like, even today I posted I had family in town, and so my mom and I went, and she wanted ice cream. And so I ate ice cream for lunch yesterday with my mom, right? And I was surprised. I actually didn't feel bad at all, but it's because the rest of the day I did all sorts of other stuff to like counteract it, right? So it's definitely a full process, and I know my body well enough to kind of get myself back in balance. But everything in moderation, and especially on this journey when you're dealing with like, you need to have your vibration as high as possible. it is something that if you're not paying attention to it, you need to be, because it's such an easy tool to help you get where you need to go. And it's also like where we're evolving to. It's part of the new template. It's part of where we're headed. And as conscious leaders, we are kind of helping be the leaders to get other people on board. So yeah, after my awakening, super sensitive to food. I even like super sensitive to alcohol, to where like, I think it was 3 months ago, I went to a wedding and I had, you know, a champagne toast because I just felt really human and wanted to participate and celebrate. And then one other drink. And I had a headache the next day until like 8 p.m. And I was just like, this is not worth it anymore, you know? So I'd say I very seldomly drink alcohol at this point. And so, in regards to food, I just like crave more vegetables. I crave, rather than having like meat in some of my meals, sometimes I just want more vegetables. And like sometimes I want to omit meat from my meal altogether. Sometimes meat feels heavy. It feels like I don't want to keep chewing it. It feels like I don't want it in my meal. And I've talked about this before, I'm being guided towards plant-based. And so that's all part of what helped me make that decision to like go in that direction. And it just feels better for me, energetically and physically, to kind of like cut out certain meals to not have meat in it at all. And I'm kind of playing with what that balance looks like, or if I'm going to have to go 100%. Right now, I seem to have found a good balance, so I'm not 100% plant-based. And I'm okay with that. I like, shrimp. I like some like pescatarian vibes, or chicken on occasion, but I'm going to let it keep evolving the way that my body's guiding me to. So that's in regards to like food, diet, and alcohol. My experience with it on the journey, it just like sometimes I barely even think about food anymore. Like sometimes I forget meals, or I forget to eat, and it's not until my body's like, we're hungry, that I will then remember, oh, I need to fuel myself. I need to provide my body with nutrition, because I'll just frankly forget a little bit. And that is not what I used to be like. And then the two other things I wanted to mention about food. One, I know for me, and probably a lot of other people, one of the things I had to heal through on my journey was using food as a coping mechanism. So like emotional eating. And that's something that a lot of us pick up different coping mechanisms from childhood when we're, going through something. How do we control how we're feeling, or what our experiences are when we're feeling out of control? A lot of people will pick up addictions from their youth like that. One of which can be food, or a coping mechanism of using food to make you feel like you're in control, make you feel like you're safe. Very, very common. And that's something that I had, but it's also something that I was pretty good about monitoring, I guess. But on this journey, it was definitely a part of it. Like, we had to cut it and learn the lessons. And there were multiple occasions where if I was going through something really intense, I was tested on if I was going to be using emotional eating or food as a coping mechanism. And it's an attachment, right? So you become attached to this coping mechanism, which happens to be food for me. So yeah, it's something that I had to heal through on my journey, and that might be something you guys can relate to. And then the other part of this is when we're talking about where our planet is headed and the evolution of our planet, we are going to be going more towards plant-based. Yeah, that'll work. You'll see it in the news already. So I'm in the US. Over the last few months, we've had news articles about like the bird flu. And we've had, sadly, a bunch of birds. I think this is around the world. It wasn't just the US, but we had chickens or turkeys, tons of them, unfortunately, slaughtered, died because they had a bird flu infection on the farm. Well, first of all, that's incredibly sad, but second of all, the bird flu is what they were trying to like minimize by getting rid of the animals. Well, in addition to that, I think it was yesterday, I saw in the US, we have a bunch of cattle farmers who are selling off their cattle. And they're selling off their cattle because it is so expensive right now for them to feed their cattle. And they don't have the resources to continue to maintain their livestock and cattle farms. Plus, there's water droughts and things of that sort. So these cattle farmers are straight up converting their farms to non-livestock farms, right? Getting rid of cattle to kind of pivot their business plan. Well, as that happens, we will also have to be pivoting, right? So do I think that it is a coincidence that we're going to continue to see animal-related diseases or animal-related shifts? No, I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that is by design. I believe us as a collective are shifting away from eating our animal friends. When you are connected to everything and you understand that, then you start understanding the importance of every creature on this planet. And as we all continue to evolve our consciousness, I believe we're headed away from consuming our animal friends. And I believe that if we don't make those choices ourselves, there will be things like bird flu or the farmers making those decisions for us that will encourage and guide us away from it as well. Another thing to be aware of is as that transition happens, will there be genetically modified meat? And are you going to be someone that cannot release the attachment of meat to where you will then be eating genetically modified versions of meat? That's a personal decision that people are going to have to go through, but I know for me, I'm not wanting to eat genetically modified food. I want it to be the real deal. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I just wanted to share that. That's my past, my journey, and my current thoughts in regards to food for myself, for the Twin Flame journey, and then for the collective and where we're evolving to. I hope this is helpful, and I will see you guys on the next video. Thanks!